Let's set the scene. You're thinking about buying a home, picturing that moment when you finally have the keys in hand and a place to call your own. But wait, what if I told you that this dream could be the start of a financial trap? Today, we're tackling one of the biggest financial questions out there. Should you rent or buy a home? And to guide this journey, I'll be introducing the 8.71% rule, a powerful, data-backed approach to help you make this decision with confidence. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't buying always better? But in today's economy, with fluctuating home prices, high interest rates, and unpredictable markets, this choice isn't as simple as it used to be. So settle in as we explore every angle, and by the end, you'll know exactly whether renting or buying is right for you, armed with the insights to make a choice that sets you up for financial freedom. To start, let's talk about the psychology of homeownership. Why is it that so many of us feel that buying a home is a sign of success? Well, this belief has deep roots in American culture. Owning a home has long been seen as the American dream, a goal that symbolizes stability, achievement, and status. But here's the thing. Society's version of success isn't necessarily your version of success. Let's think back historically. After World War II, government policies incentivized homeownership through affordable loans and tax breaks, and suddenly, owning a home became a core piece of the ideal American life. This cultural shift put homeownership on a pedestal, which is where it's remained. But today's world is different. High housing costs, student loan debt, a competitive job market, these are all factors that didn't exist at this scale back then. So now, let's shift from the emotional to the practical. The costs of owning a home. When people think of buying, they often think about mortgage payments. But that's just the start. Let's break down every cost factor. Mortgage principal and interest. This is the most obvious cost, and it's also the largest. However, with today's interest rates often around 6 to 7%, the interest alone can add significantly to the cost of owning. Property taxes. Depending on where you live, property taxes could range from 0.5% to 2.5% of your home's value annually. On a $300,000 home, that's potentially $7,500 every year. Home insurance. You will need insurance, which typically runs about $1,000 to $2,500 annually. Maintenance and repairs. An often overlooked cost, home maintenance is ongoing and necessary. A common rule is to budget about 1% of your home's value annually for maintenance. On a $300,000 home, that's another $3,000 per year. Private mortgage insurance. PMI. If your down payment is less than 20%, you'll likely need PMI, which could cost around 0.5% to 1% of the loan amount annually. All these expenses add up. And when you really look at it, the true cost of homeownership can be surprisingly high. So the question becomes, can you afford not only the purchase but the true, ongoing expenses that come with it? This is where the 8.71% rule comes into play. The rule is simple in theory, but powerful in practice. Here's the basic idea. If your total annual costs of owning a home are more than 8.71% of the home's value, buying might not be the best move. Instead, renting and investing that money could actually be the smarter financial choice. Let's break it down with an example. Imagine a home worth $400,000. If you're following the 8.71% rule, your total annual homeownership costs shouldn't exceed $34,840. That includes mortgage interest, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and any other expenses. If your ownership costs exceed this threshold, you might actually be better off renting and putting your money to work in investments that yield higher returns. In other words, buying a home that costs you more than 8.71% of its value annually could tie up your money in an asset that grows slower than other investments. Okay, let's pause here. If you're thinking, wait, so should I never buy a home? Don't worry. The 8.71% rule is a guide, not a strict command. It's here to help you make an informed decision, not to say that homeownership is off the table. So let's talk about renting, because it gets a bad rap. How often have you heard people say, renting is just throwing money away? But what if I told you that renting can actually be a powerful wealth-building tool? When you rent, you're freeing up capital that you can invest in assets with potentially higher returns, like stocks, bonds, or even your own business. Renting can be a tool to increase your financial flexibility and build wealth over time. Let's run some numbers. Imagine you're renting a place for $1,500 per month. That's $18,000 per year. Now, if you instead bought a home, that could mean an outflow of $30,000 per year when factoring in all ownership costs. That's a difference of $12,000 annually. Now, if you invested that $12,000 every year with a 7% return in 10 years, you'd have over $170,000. That's the power of renting and investing the difference. It's not throwing money away. It's putting your money to work in a way that can create real wealth. At this point, you might still be thinking, but owning a home just feels safer, more stable. And I get it. But let's bust some common myths and misconceptions about homeownership. 1. Myth: buying is always better than renting. This one's easy. With the 8.71% rule, you can see that buying isn't automatically better. It's only better if it aligns with your financial goals and doesn't hinder your wealth-building potential. 2. Myth: owning a home is an investment. While it's true that homes can appreciate, they don't grow as fast as other investments. Homes appreciate around 3 to 5% on average, while the stock market historically yields 7 to 10%. 3. Myth: renting means no equity. True, you won't build equity in a rented home. But if you invest the money you save by renting, you're still building wealth. Equity isn't the only way to grow your net worth. Now, let's dive into the emotional side of this decision. Homeownership can feel fulfilling and rewarding. But the choice to buy or rent should be about aligning with your personal values and goals. Do you want stability and a place to call your own? Then buying might bring you a sense of peace and fulfillment. Or do you value flexibility and financial growth? Then renting might better align with your goals. Remember, the 8.71% rule is here to help you see the financial implications. But ultimately, your choice should feel right for you. So after all this, where does that leave you? Here's the takeaway. Renting versus buying isn't about one choice being right or wrong. It's about what works for you. Use the 8.71% rule as a guideline, not a strict rule. Analyze your costs, compare your options, and align your choices with what will bring you both financial stability and personal satisfaction. And if you're thinking about how to start building wealth, don't stop here. Check out my video on how to invest for beginners, starting with just $100. It's full of actionable steps to get started, no matter where you're at financially. If you found this guide helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for more insights, and leave a comment below with the topics you want to see next. Remember, financial freedom is about making intentional choices that build the life you want, not just following the crowd.